Imagine a frozen land where there is no fire, no clothing, and the only way to survive is to kill, and sometimes even eat, another human. This isn't a horror movie. This actually happened. 1 million years ago, a terrifying and mysterious human species roamed Europe, Homo Antecessor. And later in this video, I'm going to reveal a shocking fact discovered by scientists only a few years ago. A fact that will completely change the way you think about early humans. Imagine a frozen land 1 million years ago where the wind slices through skin like blades and where no fire, no clothing, and no shelter could truly protect you. This is the brutal world of Homo Antecessor, the first humans to step into the harsh wilderness of prehistoric Europe. In this raw, merciless landscape of northern Spain, survival wasn't just about food. It was about dominance, violence, and pure instinct. Picture a small group of these early humans slowly walking across the barren hills of Atapuerca, their bare feet pressed against the icy ground, their hands clutching crude stone tools, their eyes scanning the distant fog for any sign of life or threat. No spoken language, no safety, just fear and hunger. Among them is a young adolescent boy, barely 13, already hardened by death. His own brother had been killed the winter before by a rival tribe, and now he carries a sharp flint stone in his hand, not as a tool, but as a weapon. Around him, older males lead the way with spears made from sharpened wood. Every night they sleep under thorny shrubs, huddling together for warmth. Every morning they step out, half-starved, into the killing cold in search of animals or even humans to keep them alive. This isn't a simple tale of primitive tribes. This is a story of ambushes, cannibalism, and survival warfare. And later in this video, I will reveal a shocking scientific discovery about these people that changes everything we thought we knew about the earliest Europeans. As they climb to a high ridge overlooking the valley, their heavy breaths form clouds in the bitter air. Below, a herd of deer graze quietly on frost-covered grass, but the group of hunters knows something else. They are not alone. Somewhere in the same valley, a rival tribe of Homo Antecessor watches them from the shadows, starving and desperate. They too want those deer, and this morning both groups will clash in a deadly game of strength and strategy. A sudden rustling, a shout. The weaker group breaks from the tree line, chasing a wounded deer, limping from a poorly thrown spear. In seconds, both tribes charge towards the same kill, stones crashing, spears striking. Blood hits the snow as bodies fall. The stronger hunters overpower their rivals, not only seizing the deer, but dragging the dead enemy as well. Because in this world, meat is meat. Later in this video, I will tell you exactly how scientists discovered horrifying marks on human bones. Marks that prove they butchered and ate each other with the same technique they used on animals. But before I tell you that, you need to understand the daily reality of Homo Antecessor. They had no fire to keep warm, no fur garments stitched together, no shelter except shallow caves or rock overhangs. They likely moved in small family bands of 6 to 10 individuals. Their faces, shockingly, looked somewhat like ours. Flat cheeks and a modern jaw, not like the ape-like faces of other hominins of that era. Because of that, some scientists once thought they might be our direct ancestors. But later in this video, I'll reveal how protein analysis completely disproved that, showing they were actually a dead-end branch of evolution. Humans who fought and survived for over 500,000 years, only to disappear forever, leaving no genetic trace behind. The young boy watches as the bodies are dragged back to their campsite. The tribe lights no fire. They don't have that skill yet. Instead, they cut open the fresh deer and eat the raw organs first, the liver, the heart, because those parts rot fastest. The children get the soft parts, Then, surprisingly, the adult males turn their attention to the human corpse. Not for burial, not for respect, but for butchery. They break the skull with stone hammers to access the brain, a nutritious fatty organ. They cut off the flesh from the face and cheeks. Later in this video, I'll talk about how scientists found cut marks across the eye sockets and cheekbones of Homo antecessor skulls, proving that the face was intentionally sliced apart for meat or for intimidation. Some bones are cracked to get to the marrow. This isn't a scene of desperation alone. This is ritual, territory, violence, and maybe even psychological warfare. Because across the archaeological site of Atapuerca, researchers found the bones of children and young adults with systematic cut marks. Why mostly the young? Were they easier to capture? Were they taken as trophies? Or is there an even darker reason? A moment will come later in this video when I'll explain the difference between eating animals out of hunger and eating humans as an act of dominance. But for now, back to the valley. The night falls as they chew on raw flesh. Wolves howling in the distance wait for any scraps. The hunters pile the bones, keep some stone tools, and leave blood on the cave floor as proof of another day survived. In the morning they will set out again, driven by hunger and the need to control the high ground that gives them access to the herds moving along the river. Without that hilltop, they lose their advantage, and they know rivals are always watching. You see, later in this video, I will also reveal how this same hill in Spain became the battleground for not just one species, but for multiple types of humans for hundreds of thousands of years. But Homo Antecessor were the first. They were pioneers, and their entire existence was a gamble with death. Back in the present day, scientists have unearthed around 80 fossil fragments from at least 6 individuals, including the skull of a 10-year-old child whose facial structure shocked everyone. It looked eerily modern. The cheekbones, the nasal projections, the flatness of the face, it resembled modern humans more than Neanderthals or even Homo erectus. But then the jawbone revealed something else: primitive teeth, large brow ridges, and a powerful jaw for crushing raw meat and tough plant roots. They hunted large animals, walked long distances, and may have had brains almost as large as ours. They weren't mindless brutes. They were intelligent, strategic, and terrifyingly efficient killers. And a bit later in this video, I'll share the heartbreaking detail of how a Homo antecessor child likely suffered from dental diseases and bone fractures, but still kept walking, still kept hunting. Because in their world, weakness meant death, and death meant being eaten. So as the tribe drags the carcass up the hill, the young boy looks back at the bloody snow, seeing the faces of the rival group they slaughtered. He says nothing, but understands one brutal truth: to survive here, you must become the predator, even if that means becoming a monster. This is the beginning of our story. The story of a human species that entered Europe long before fire, long before compassion, carrying only stone tools and a hunger that even other humans could satisfy. And this is just the beginning. The cold winter night has passed, and once again the tribe of Homo Antecessor rises before the faint light of dawn touches the icy peaks around them, their bellies still half empty, though they have gnawed through sinew and marrow from the kill of the day before, the ground around them stained with dark blood, both animal and human. A thin fog drifts through the valley below, while the sound of distant howling predators reminds them they are never truly alone. And as they gather their crude spears and stone flakes, they are already planning the next hunt, driven not by ambition or pride, but by the simplest, most powerful instinct: survive one more day. The young boy, whose arm still aches from the brutal chase and whose memory still stings with the image of his fallen brother, walks in silence beside the older men, stepping carefully over sharp stones and frost-covered roots, his mind heavy with an understanding far beyond his years. The weak die first, and the dead become food. And because of that, he must become strong quicker than any child in our world today. The hill above them, the one called Atapuerca in our modern times, stands like a silent witness to thousands of years of bloodshed. And later in this video, I will tell you how that same hill would be used by many other human species. Neanderthals, Homo heidelbergensis, even early Homo sapiens, all fighting for the exact same reason: control of the land and its meat. As the tribe quietly descends toward the river, they move in a formation that almost seems strategic. One adult in front, one in the back, others in the middle, guarding the children and tools. And even though they cannot speak our kind of language, they communicate through grunts, gestures, and sharp looks, displaying a level of cooperation that shocks modern scientists. Because for a species over 1 million years old with no fire, their teamwork is far more advanced than we once believed. And a bit later in this video, I will reveal how fossil evidence of hunting injuries shows that these people sometimes risked their lives to save one another during animal hunts. Through the fog, they spot fresh tracks, hoof marks of deer, scratch marks of a large boar, and they carefully follow them. Each footstep calculated, no wasted movement, every calorie precious. The elder male, his brow thick and shadowing his deep-set eyes, stops at a patch of disturbed earth. He kneels, touches the soil with his fingers, tastes it briefly, sensing the freshness of the tracks. The tribe halts, waiting, silence stretching across the frozen air. Then suddenly, movement. A small herd of deer, maybe 4 or 5, appear between the trees, unaware they are being stalked. Spears are raised, breaths held. But then, a noise, a snapping branch on the opposite side of the valley. Another hunting group appears, perhaps 7 or 8 individuals, also Homo Antecessor, but from a rival tribe. Both groups freeze, tension thick enough to feel in the bones. No words are spoken, but a decision has to be made, and it is made quickly. Attack first or lose everything. Later in this video, I will explain how scientists discovered weapon impact scars on skeletons that clearly show intentional murder, not accidental injury from hunting animals. With a sudden roar, the elder male from our tribe charges, followed by his hunters. Stones fly through the air, spears slice toward human flesh instead of deer. The rival group reacts, tries to run, but 2 are caught and brutally struck down. One dies instantly from a spear through the chest. Another is clubbed in the skull and collapses screaming. The deer run away, forgotten. Blood pours into the dirt as the victorious hunters grab the bodies of the fallen enemies, dragging them across the ground while the surviving rivals flee. And later in this video, I will describe the horrifying cut marks found on arm bones, wrists, and cheeks that prove the face was sliced up to remove flesh. Not just for nutrition, but possibly as a display of dominance. Back at camp, the bodies are processed with ruthless efficiency. Heads smashed to extract brains, arms snapped to get marrow, tongue cut out, cheeks stripped clean. The children watch and learn, because in this world, cannibalism is not an unspeakable crime. It is simply a part of life. But even so, I will soon reveal how some scientists believe this was not just about survival. It may have been psychological warfare, like what chimpanzees do when they kill and eat members from rival bands, and this terrifying similarity connects us to our animal past in ways many people are not ready to accept. As night falls again, the tribe eats quietly, the crack of bone against stone echoing into the darkness. They do not feel guilt or remorse. They feel stronger, more secure. The young boy, his face smeared with blood, chews thoughtfully on a piece of roasted marrow while looking at the stars above. Stars that will never know his name nor remember his struggles, and yet his bloodline, if it survives, might continue for hundreds of thousands of years. But, as I will explain later in this video, Homo Antecessor left no descendants, no DNA, no genetic legacy in modern humans. They were a bold experiment of evolution that ended in extinction. Still, for now, they dominate this land. And so the night continues with the sounds of distant wolves, snarling in the darkness, drawn by the smell of human blood, while the tribe guards their precious meat and remains ready for yet another battle tomorrow. Because for them, tomorrow is not a promise. Tomorrow is something they must fight for, even if it means killing again. The days grow shorter and darker, and the air becomes even colder as the tribe of Homo Antecessor moves deeper into the forest, following the river upstream in search of fresh herds, their bodies growing thinner as food becomes harder to find, while every sound of breaking ice or distant footsteps forces them to freeze and listen, knowing danger could be another animal, or another human just beyond the next hill. The young boy's arm wound has mostly healed now, but the scar is a permanent reminder that life here demands blood, and every child in the group is already being prepared to kill or be killed. As they walk, they pass boulders stained with ancient blood, places where past battles happened between tribes that were long forgotten even before their own time. And later in this video, I will tell you how scientists discovered more than one layer of human bones in this same hill, proving that violence and cannibalism here happened not just once or twice, but across thousands of years. The elder male, still strong but carrying the fatigue of constant war on his broad shoulders, stops at a rocky outcrop to sniff the air like a silent predator. The smell of smoke faint in the wind, a sign that perhaps another tribe has harnessed fire, something their own group has never managed. And for a brief moment, the possibility of warmth and cooked meat becomes a distraction, but also a threat, because whoever owns that fire may be powerful enough to destroy them, or perhaps become their next target. The children carry nothing but sharp stones tied around their waists, ready to strike at any animal or human they stumble upon, and sometimes even the youngest, barely 6 years old, have to step in during a kill, because hesitation means one less mouth to feed. Later in this video, I will explain something extraordinary: how researchers found evidence in their teeth that Homo Antecessor children had a long childhood and slow development similar to modern humans, which means they may have had more time to learn, to observe, to plan, and that may be why they were such effective hunters and killers even without fire or advanced tools. But today, they are not hunting animals. They are hunting people. Up ahead, they spot a small group of 5 individuals, possibly a struggling family, skinny and starving, carrying a half-eaten boar carcass. There is no hesitation this time. The elder male signals a silent split attack, one group circling around behind while the young boy and another teen move from the side. The ambush is quick and ruthless. One woman is struck in the back before she even turns her head. A man tries to run but is tackled to the ground and beaten with stones. A young girl, maybe 10 years old, screams as she is grabbed. But in this world, screaming has no meaning. Later in this video, I will share how scientists discovered child skulls with cut marks through the eye sockets and jawlines, indicating not just meat removal but deliberate mutilation. Within minutes, the 5 rivals lie motionless in the snow, and the tribe begins to strip them of anything useful: meat, skin, even their weapons, and the small remains of their boar. Blood steams in the cold air. The young boy helps crush a skull, learning exactly where to strike to open the bone efficiently. The tribe eats part of the boar and saves the human flesh to carry back as supplies, knowing that fresh kills do not last long in a world full of scavengers. But later in this video, I will reveal evidence that not all cannibalism was about hunger. In some cases, rival bodies were mutilated far beyond what was needed for food, suggesting ritual or psychological tactics meant to terrify other groups. As the tribe moves on, now heavier with stolen food and meat, the young boy feels a strange mix of pride and fear. Pride that he is becoming one of the hunters, fear because they are now deep into the territory of others who may come seeking revenge. Night falls again, and this time they find a small cave to rest, using piles of dry grass for warmth, but everyone sleeps with a stone blade in hand. Outside the cave, the wind blows like a ghost and the stars shimmer coldly above. The boy looks up and wonders if there will ever be a world where his people are not starving, not killing. But as I will reveal later in this video, that world will never come for them, because Homo Antecessor will one day disappear entirely, leaving not a single descendant behind, wiped out by time, climate, or newer, more advanced humans. Still, for now, they survive this night, under the icy sky, surrounded by the bones of enemies and the silence of a world that does not care whether they live or die. And so ends another day in the brutal life of the first humans of Europe. Another day begins in the world of Homo Antecessor, the sun barely rising over the icy hills as the tribe quietly gathers its tools. Thin flakes of flint tied with fiber, wooden spears hardened by fireless charring, and the elder male leads them forward again, knowing that winter is closing in fast. Scientists today estimate that temperatures in this region could drop below freezing for long stretches, and evidence from tooth enamel suggests their diet was mostly raw meat, tough plants, and sometimes even frozen flesh, which damage their teeth badly. In fact, one mandible found at the site had such extreme wear that the nerve canals were exposed, which means that individual likely lived in constant pain. Yet despite that agony, they kept moving, because pain meant nothing if the tribe needed you alive. The young boy carries a chipped stone core in his hand and remembers that the site of Grandolina has yielded over 80 bones from at least 6 individuals, most of them teenagers or children, which means that young people died often in this world. A constant reminder that childhood here ended before it even began. As they climb a hill to scout the valley below, the elder male pauses to sniff the air again, his instincts finely tuned. Later in this video, I will reveal why some scientists believe these people had a sense of territorial boundaries similar to chimpanzees, fighting over hunting grounds again and again. Today, they see something unusual. A group of about 10 individuals near a large fallen mammoth carcass, half frozen in the snow, possibly dead from natural causes. This is a rare opportunity because mammoths could feed dozens of people for days, and their fat is a powerful energy source. And the tribe immediately feels both hunger and fear, knowing that the other group might kill them if they get too close. One quick fact: the tallest known Homo Antecessor male was estimated at almost 6 feet 2 inches. Surprisingly tall. And one of their clavicles looked very similar to Neanderthals, meaning they had strong upper bodies made for throwing spears with force. The tribe crouches behind rocks, planning an ambush. The young boy watches how the elder male moves his hand and positions everyone, and for a moment it looks almost like a military strategy. Later in this video, I will tell you how scientists found shoulder bones that suggest these early humans could throw projectiles just like we can, something modern apes cannot do. Suddenly, the signal is given. Stones fly, spears thrust. The opposing group panics. A spear enters the thigh of a mammoth scavenger. Another man is struck in the lower back and falls screaming. The mammoth carcass becomes a bloody battlefield. 2 are killed. 3 more run away. The rest are cornered and clubbed down. In minutes, the ground is soaked in blood again. The tribe quickly grabs pieces of mammoth fat and meat, but also begins to cut up the humans again, because now they see both as equal sources of food. One quick fact: 95% of the animal bones found at the site have no carnivore marks, showing that these people hunted their prey directly instead of scavenging like hyenas. They haul what they can carry and begin returning to their base, leaving behind shattered skulls. The young boy notices a strange thought in his mind. The enemies no longer feel like people to him. They feel like prey. And later in this video, I will tell you about a discovery made in 2020 where scientists analyzed proteins from an 800,000-year-old Homo antecessor tooth and found that biologically they were different from both modern humans and Neanderthals, a completely separate branch of the human tree that eventually vanished. Back at the shelter, the group drops the heavy blocks of fat and meat and starts cutting and sharing. But before anyone eats, the elder male grabs a thick piece of mammoth skin and throws it around his shoulder like a cloak, perhaps instinctively discovering the earliest form of clothing. The tribe sleeps that night, fuller than usual, and the young boy, staring at the stars again, wonders what lies beyond the valley. But he knows he cannot leave, because every place outside their territory is full of rivals or predators waiting to tear him apart. Tomorrow, they will hunt again, kill again, and maybe discover another tribe that has learned to make fire, which would change everything. And a bit later in this video, I will explain how the lack of fire might have been one of the main reasons Homo antecessor could not survive in the long term. For now, they rest on a bed of dead grass and bones, unaware that thousands of years later, scientists would find their remains and start calling them the pioneer humans. The first to walk into Europe, but not the first to make it out alive. The final weeks of winter sweep across the land like a slow death, freezing the rivers and starving the forests of life, and the tribe of Homo antecessor feels its strength slowly draining despite the last victories, because even with meat and fat, the cold punishes every breath and infection spreads through wounds and teeth. A young girl in the group coughs all night, her gums bleeding from disease, and scientific evidence actually shows that some Homo antecessor individuals suffered from severe gum infections, dental abscesses, and march fractures in their feet, proof that long-distance walking and daily pain were a normal part of existence. The young boy, who is now more hunter than child, watches as the elder male struggles to stand, possibly facing infection in his knee. This is supported by one real fossil where a lesion was found on the knee bone, caused by constant overuse. For a moment, it looks like the tribe might not survive the season. Later in this video, I will explain how scientists believe that during the coldest periods, these people had no choice but to abandon the central parts of the Iberian Peninsula and move to the Mediterranean coast just to avoid freezing to death. Today, though, the tribe prepares one final move. They must head south before the snow becomes too deep. They pack what little they own: stone flakes, simple chopping tools, strips of dried meat, and they begin walking again, leaving behind a campsite littered with broken bones and cracked skulls, soon to be buried by snow and time. One fact you should know: the oldest Homo antecessor fossil found is a jawbone dating to around 1.22 million years ago. But a piece of another upper jaw was dated to 1.4 million years ago, making them some of the earliest known humans in Europe. As the tribe marches toward the distant coast, they pass another set of footprints in the mud. Footprints that resemble their own, but disappear into a different direction. These may belong to another unseen group, and scientists have actually found ancient human footprints in England from around 800,000 to 1.2 million years ago, possibly made by the same species, meaning Homo Antecessor may have spread farther north than we can even prove. The young boy pauses and looks back one last time at the territory they once called home, a land filled with memories of blood, screams, and fireless nights. And he wonders if future generations of their kind will ever remember any of this. But the truth, which you will learn later in this video, is that no one from their line will remember, because Homo Antecessor eventually vanished, replaced by other humans like Homo heidelbergensis and later Neanderthals, who arrived with better tools, broader bodies for the cold, possibly even controlled fire. The great irony is that although Homo Antecessor survived in Europe for more than 500,000 years, if far longer than our modern civilization has existed, they left no genetic trace in the human race today. Protein analysis done in 2020 proved they were an evolutionary dead end. And yet, as they slowly walk south, carrying their wounded, still ready to fight, if needed, their story is not a failure. It is a monument to raw survival, to the brutal courage of being the first humans bold enough to challenge the freezing wilderness of Europe. The young boy takes one last look at the snowflakes falling around him, and though he cannot speak words, something in his heart knows that every step forward is a battle against extinction itself. It is likely that somewhere ahead another tribe waits, perhaps with fire, perhaps with stronger weapons, and if these two groups meet, what will follow is not peace, it is slaughter. And so the tribe keeps walking through the wind and snow, lost to history, their bones waiting to be found hundreds of thousands of years later by modern people who will stare in horror at the marks of cannibalism, the signs of infection, the cuts across the face, and realize that before language and civilization, before religion and culture, there was only hunger, territory, and survival. And that is how the story of Homo Antecessor ends. Not with glory or evolution, but with silence, snow, and 1,000 unanswered screams buried beneath the earth.